I know that a lot of y'all have been waiting for somebody to cover this because I see everybody screaming about it on Twitter. This is some bullshit. Don't worry, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. Because it is some bullshit. It is a whole lot of bullshit going on. But let's just see how they try to spin it this time. Let's see how they try to spin it this time. Maybe, just maybe they were a little bit more objective. So we're going to talk about the article for a second. We're going to read the first couple paragraphs. And we're going to go to the poll. And we're going to see if there's any discrepancies between the article and the polling analysis. Spoiler alert, there's discrepancies, but we'll get to them in a second. So, after literally three days ago or 4 days ago, saying that Bernie Sanders was a clear frontrunner in the Democratic primary, CNN decides to wipe their ass with their own bullshit. And they're going to leave a hole stain to do so, apparently. So, Biden, this is the title of the article, Biden solidifies front-runner status with post-announcement bump. I kind of want to frame this for you before we go into the details. Is that fine? So they say it's a post-announcement bump. In other words, when he announced, somehow, some way, even though he's been included in literally every single poll, he's been actually getting trashed for the last 3 weeks. People are still trying to understand how this old, weirdy, old, perverted ass man even has the audacity to step into this election. And somehow, despite all of those facts, and the fact that, have you noticed, they haven't even said how many people were at his opening rally in Pittsburgh. I'll tell you this, it won't as many as Bernie. He didn't have, the Rust Belt was supposed to be Biden's thing. Biden has all the recognition, the name recognition that you could get. The only way he would be more popular is if his name, or at least more well known, is if his name was Obama. That's the only way he could be more well known at this point. In your first rally, you got to hold inside. Truthfully speaking, people, deadass, Kamala Harris had more people at her opening rally than Biden did. In LA and San Francisco, Tulsi had a bigger crowd at both of her rallies with like a 12-hour notice than Biden had at his opening rally as the former vice president and supposed polling leader in the Democratic primary. So, of course, when I read this, you're going to probably start raising some eyebrows, and you would be well justified in doing so. So let's get to it. Aside from, oh, hold on. I'm starting way too late in the article. Former Vice President Joe Biden's announcement of a bid for the Democratic presidential nomination earned him an 11-point polling bounce. Okay? Leaving him head and shoulders above the rest of the Democratic candidates. Was that supposed to be a pun? Because the head and the shoulders, and he likes to put his hands on people's shoulders before he kissed the back of their head like a fucking weirdo. Is that what that was? Because if not, they really should edit that. So, a CNN poll conducted by SSRS, because they have been so reliable in the past for the establishment. SSRS, after Biden's announcement on Thursday, shows that, wow, 39% of voters who are Democrats or Democratic-leaning independents, because, of course, because before, all independents didn't matter. Remember? Independents weren't important. But now they have to convince the world that he's a more viable candidate than Bernie Sanders. So, of course, they're going to ask Democratic-leaning independents now. Because they have, and then say 39% of all those people love them some Biden. Okay? And that's their top choice, according to CNN. And that's up from 28% in March The month before, he had like the biggest scandal of his career. Nothing suspicious about that at all. Nothing suspicious about that. Let's continue. That puts Biden more than 20 points ahead of his nearest competitor, Senator Bernie Sanders. Gasp. I do believe I got the vapors. He only holds 15% support in the poll. Well, poor Bernie. It's almost like he'd be upset about that if he didn't have more money than the Democratic Party, the DCCC, the DSCC, all of them combined. If he didn't have more money and he didn't have 1 million volunteers, which I'm pretty sure has literally never happened in the history of any presidential election, he would probably almost be upset if all those things weren't true about this little 15% that he supposedly only has. So, and of course, you know, they're trying to, they don't mention, they do poll. They mention Tulsi in the polling, but they don't mention Tulsi at all in the article. They mention other people who haven't even met the financial requirements for the debate stage, but Tulsi's totally unimportant, you know, whatever. But this is about Bernie right now. So let's get back to it. Now, we're going to talk about the polling methodology, okay? So at the very, very top on the first page, because they want to make sure you see this. This is super important information, okay? The study was conducted for CNN via telephone by SSRS, an independent who does all the polling for the Democrats and major Democratic networks for the Democratic primary. Totally independent, probably. Interviews were conducted from April 25th to April the 28th, 2019, amongst a sample of 1,007 respondents. Oh, wow. That's actually a kind of a lot somewhat compared to what they do in the past. So things they may be looking up. Maybe this poll isn't as full of fuckery as I originally thought. Let's continue. The landline total respondents were 358. Okay. And there were 649 cell phone respondents. Oh my, wow. Okay, so maybe this poll's legitimate. Let's continue. The margin of sampling error for the total respondents was 3.8%. Well, that is impressive. This is sure to be a very legitimate poll. Until you scroll down to about page 16, because they have some things that they forgot to mention in the first part of the polling methodology that they were explaining to y'all. And y'all can let me know whether or not you think this is important. So, a total of 1,007 adults, which we said was good, right? A total of 1,007 adults were interviewed by telephone worldwide or nationwide by live interviewers calling both landlines and cell phones. Interviews were conducted in English and Spanish. That's good. Among the entire sample, 33% described themselves as Democrats, 26% described themselves as Republicans, 41% described themselves as independents or members of another party. By the way, they called landlines supposedly at random, right? 41% of the people that they called are independents. 41%. But let's keep pandering to neoliberals. And when 35 of the 35 states are open primary, semi-open primary, where they have no other choice other than Trump as the Republican presidential candidate. And a lot of these people don't like Trump, and you're looking for somebody else. But yeah, let's not go on Fox News. Let's argue and bitch at Bernie for going on Fox News. Let's argue and bitch at Tulsi for calling out both parties, because clearly the world, the entire country, loves both parties, which is why in this poll, 40% of them want nothing to do with both parties. Okay, let's continue. This is some more important information they decided to leave out. All respondents were asked questions concerning basic demographics, and the entire sample was weighted reflected the census figures for gender, race, age, education, region of country, and telephone usage. Now, a little caveat here, little fine print, page 16. You might want to look this up. Results for the full sample sizes had a margin of error of plus or minus 3.8%. Okay. Remember, we said that's good because as long as it's 4% or below, it's a pretty decent poll. For the sample of 913 registered voters, it is 3.9%. Okay. That's still pretty good. For the subset of 451 Democrats and Democratic-leaning independents, it's... Hold up. Give me a second. Hold up real quick. Just want to make sure that I am not blind because I know I'm not crazy. Y'all, this shit says for the Democratic and Democratic-leaning independents, the margin of error is 5.7%. And then the next part is even more interesting because this is for the subset of 411 Democrats and Democrat-leaning independents who are registered to vote. The margin of error is 5.9. It's 6%, y'all. CNN just pushed out a poll today that is quoting percentages with a 6% margin of error from 411 respondents and claiming that Biden somehow got a boost. Huh? Well, I mean, that's pretty bad. So I'm sure, cause like I said, y'all, we talk about this pretty often, but truth of the matter is, the moment that you get above 4%, your poll isn't worth the printer paper that it's typed on. It isn't. You wasted everybody's time, you wasted money, and you wasted effort because it isn't a legitimate poll. Polling is already inherently flawed, of course, but it isn't a legitimate poll. The moment you get above 4%, any pollster legitimately would tell you this. The moment you get it. So imagine my shock when I saw, not really, I wasn't shocked because that's kind of what they do, but imagine my face. Because before, I was pissed at the last BS poll, acronym not meaning Bernie Sanders, it means Ben Shapiro, aka bullshit. The last poll that they try to push out like this, 5.2% margin of error. And I was tripping off of that. This is a 6% margin of error from 411 respondents. But it can't get any worse than that, right? I mean, it's not like they only asked people over 50 years old. It's not like that was the case. Oh, shit, my bad. Yeah, it was the case. Yeah, they asked 411 people. Not a specifically, by the way, and almost exclusively for this very particular question, they did not ask anyone below 50 years old. Oh, excuse me, I lied. I think it's below 49. I don't want to lie to you. Hold on. I want to make sure. I wrote down 50, but I think it might have been 39. I don't want to lie to nobody. Hold on. Scroll. Here we go. Where that age at? Where's the age? Hold on, where'd it go? I just lost it. Give me a second. Oh, here we go. Yeah, okay. No. See, I was trying to give CNN some credit. I'm like, nah, they're not going to be that obvious. I was wrong. Thank you, Sam Kane, for the super chat. Thank you, Alexander, for the super chat. I was wrong, people. They are actually that dumb. They think that we are that dumb. For this question about specifically who their number one pick in the primary is, for this question, they asked 1,000 people. 26% of them are Republican. 40% of them are Democrat or Republican leaning. They even asked the entire poll, they asked the question to everybody. They asked the questions to everybody. But they didn't record any of the responses for anyone below the age of 50. For 411 people. What the? Oh, Lord, baby. Jesus, hot damn Bojangles. Yo. I'm going to rewind back to my other video. Y'all, do y'all know what the average age of the CNN viewer is? The average age of CNN viewers is 60 years old. For Fox News, like 62. In other words, if you know about a candidate and you're 60 plus, your perception is almost probably exclusively based off of the perspective that a CNN or an MSNBC would give you. Right? The perspective from CNN is that Bernie Sanders is the worst candidate in the world. He's a dirty little socialist who's an anti-Democrat. That's the perspective. The perspective of Tulsi Gabbard is that she's an evil, Assad-worshipping, crazy person. The perspective of Joe Biden is that he's the heir apparent of Obama. And that Bernie has the black problem, although Biden pushed for segregation and helped to author the crime bill. But Bernie has the black problem. And from their perspective, even though Bernie has 1 million volunteers and infinitely more money, they're saying that Biden raising 6.3 million in a day is it's crazy. He's clearly the front runner. What they won't say is that his came from 96,000 donors, and a lot of those were bundlers and corporations, and Bernie's came from 200,000 plus. But the perspective you can only get from what you watch, from what you experience. So they literally only asked their viewers. They asked CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News' viewers who they were voting for. Bruh. They're not even trying anymore. They're not even trying anymore. 6% margin of error, 50 and older. 50 and older. How much of Biden's little sex scandal do you think these 50 and older people know about? How many of those pictures do you think they saw floating around on CNN? The one that tries to paint the Obama administration like the FDR Henry Wallace administration. How many of those pictures do you think they saw? How many of those allegations do you think they saw? How much do you think those 50 and older viewers of CNN know about Anita Hill and his non-apology? How many of them know that he is literally for advocating for gutting Social Security and Medicare? How many? Because how often they talk about that on CNN? God, no. That means they would have to talk about policy of any kind. And we know that's not what happens on CNN. They're not allowed to talk about policy. '50 and older. 50 and older. Not 50, but 50 and older. That's who they asked. And these are the headlines we have been seeing across. Like, in my opinion, and this might be viewed as a little bit extreme, this is criminal. Why did you ask all these Republicans questions if you weren't even going to record their answers? Oh, that's right. Because if you question everyone who is eligible to vote in the Democratic primary, then you might end up finding some answers that doesn't necessarily benefit the narrative that you're trying to manufacture. That's right. Forgot about that. Because they don't want to substantively deal with the reality that a lot of people who supported Bernie switched to Trump because they viewed Trump as being anti-establishment, the same way they viewed Bernie. And also, at the same time, none of those people would vote for Joe Biden. If this was a legitimate poll where they questioned and posted the results of everyone, Democrat, Republican, or independents leaning either way, if they question everyone 18 to 65 plus, Bernie would be first, Tulsi would be second, or Yang would be second, Tulsi would be third, one of the two, or one of the three. Because whether you like Yang, love Yang, dislike Yang, or anything in between, his online ground game is superb. And he's been campaigning for damn near a year and a half already. And his individual donations show that he has more traction than 95% of the other candidates. If you polled everybody and he, like Bernie, like Tulsi, reaches across party lines and ideological lines to bring people together. Tulsi Gabbard, same thing. Go to a Fox News interview of Tulsi Gabbard. And somebody leave the comment section right now. Not everybody. Some of y'all. Don't leave everybody at once. 2 or 3 people, leave the comment section. Go to a Tulsi Gabbard interview from Fox News. Come back into the comment section and post quotes from the Republican comments there. I bullshit you not. On the video that she did when she was outside in the park, the number one comment said, "This woman is amazing. She does X, Y, and Z. She has common sense. She's anti-war. She's everything I wanted in a candidate. She's even better than Trump. I love this girl so much." Blah, 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 blah. Man, I'm just so glad that she's not a leftist. I am not even joking. Tulsi, I told y'all she's a dark, wicked enchantress of a woman. I'm telling you, I'm just kidding. I always call her that because anybody who sees her speak in person, it's over. That's it for you. You're a Tulsi supporter now. That's how it works. And that's irrespective of what party you belong to. Because she reaches across ideological lines. The same way Bernie reaches across ideological lines and speaks to the populist message. If you actually posted the results, because remember, they try to sell you this nonsense at the beginning of the poll with the methodology. Hey, just so you all know, this is a 3.8% or 3.2% confidence level. We even asked 1,000 people, and we asked Democrats, Republicans, and independents, and we called cell phones just for you. Just kidding. We ain't do any of that shit. We just said we did it so you all would believe the nonsense we're about to tell you directly after this paragraph. And then in the very last paragraph, we're going to tell y'all, I know we told y'all all that shit in the beginning of the poll, but everything that you're reading about now is based on none of that. That's what they did. And this is what has been making headlines. I actually was a little bit pleased because Tulsi has 2% in this poll. I'm kind of surprised. Now old people know who Tulsi is, so that's good. I'm glad. I'm happy about that, I guess. But no, in all seriousness, do you know what this actually means, people? It it means that if you're a fan of any of the quote unquote fringe candidates, and I do still consider Bernie Sanders part of the fringe. And by the way, if you're like European or watching from another country, which I know a lot of you are, when you're on the fringe, quote unquote, in the United States, it actually doesn't mean what it probably should mean. It means that you actually agree with the majority of Americans, and therefore the entire establishment hates you. That's what being on the fringe means here. So, what that means for all of our fringe candidates, whether you're a Bernie supporter, a Tulsi supporter, or a Yang supporter, is that your candidate could be close to 9 or 10%, potentially closer to the 10 to 20% mark. Why is that? Well, for one, there's a 6% margin of error. 6%. For two, don't use the poll as the metric. You can compare other metrics to the poll, and that's what you should do. So, for example, they said Tulsi has 2%, right? Tulsi is closing in on 100,000 donations, which, by the way, she's still trying to hit. She's got a new challenge out. Go donate to her campaign. 100,000 individual donations she's trying to hit. But we already know she hit the debate. Think about it. Everybody else used bundlers. Bernie is Bernie. Bernie did what he does. But everyone else used bundlers. Everyone else taking corporate money. Everyone else is taking lobbyist money. Tulsi, after being slandered for 2 months straight, still managed to hit the $65,000 donation mark in a 2-month period. 2 months. And obviously she has much more than that now. So if they're saying she has a 2%, she's doing 2% amongst Democrats and Democratic-leaning liberals 50 and older, and all they know about her is from what they see on CNN, imagine how much support she has amongst 18 to 35, 35 to 50, Democrats that aren't loyal to the party, Democratic-leaning, Republicans, Republican-leaning, and Green Party, and etc. Imagine how much support she has. Yang, in my opinion, for all the new candidates, has the best or the second best online ground game out of actually any of the candidates. I think Yang's online ground game coming up out of literally nowhere, just strictly strategically speaking, is better than Bernie's online ground game. Bernie's ground game in 2016 was better, but he's kind of, it's not a bad thing, by the way. He's transitioned. He's already won the online war. So now he's in the trenches doing many more in-person interactions, small and large alike, than he was focused on in 2016, which is fine because, like I said, he's already won the online war. So between Yang and Tulsi, their online game is so much better than everyone else's. And I'm going to be honest with you, social media wins elections. How do I know? You ain't got to ask me, ask fucking Trump. Ask Trump. Trump knows. It's literally that simple. Ask Trump. Trump won a presidential election by tweeting. Oh, God, our country sucks so bad sometimes. He won an election by tweeting. He's even convinced the country, despite the housing market being shit, despite wages stagnating, despite income inequality being worse than it's ever been, despite more people having to have 2 jobs just to make ends meet more now than ever before, despite him giving all of this money to the rich, despite him giving all the jobs overseas again, despite all that, he still knows that whoever tweets the best wins. Even he knows this. So the importance of the online ground game cannot be underestimated when you're trying to understand where people are relative to the corrupt polls that we're looking at. Can't be overestimated. Or can be underestimated and it can't be overstated. The online ground game has to be real. So, Sam, thank you for the super chat. Biden has 0 ground game online. The same ground game online that would prompt someone to accurately predict how someone is doing amongst 18 to 34-year-olds and hell, even 18 to 40. Because even Obama realized, well, I better take my ass on Twitter. Obama's bots were the first bots. And people, I don't know if y'all have realized that yet. They've actually transitioned a lot of the bots and the quote unquote trolls on Twitter into fake pro-Bernie trolls that pretend to be Bernie. They never have an original thought, by the way. I'm going to do a video on how to spot a troll. But just as a quick summation, they never have an original thought on their Twitter timeline. It's all retweets, right? And it's very specific. It's almost as if like the super establishment or anti-establishment retweets, almost all exclusively Bernie retweets. Then if you go to their replies, all of their replies are actually attacking other people. That's all they ever do. And then the amount of followers they have isn't even close to being relative to how long they've been on Twitter or how often they tweeted. And then their retweets and their likes don't match the amount of followers they have or how long they've been on Twitter for the supposed clout they have. And they never have an original thought, but they'll have 5,000 followers. So if you've noticed, a lot of these accounts, especially the quote-unquote pro-Bernie accounts, these are fake accounts meant to try and cause divisiveness on Twitter between Bernie and Tulsi supporters, and also to try and manufacture consent for whenever Bernie decides to go against the establishment narrative. So some of these troll accounts, for example, will say, well, Bernie doesn't like Assad. Bernie believes the Russiagate narrative, and will try and start an attack based off of that, usually anti-Tulsi based attacks. If you notice, those accounts, many of them, coincidentally enough, are 0809 or 2012. Isn't that a really weird coincidence? Because no matter what anyone tries to tell you, listen, if you're new to this channel, I don't know everything about anything, but I know a little bit about a lot. Little bit about a lot. Don't know everything about anything, little bit about a lot though. And what I do know is how to predict an election and how to predict an outcome. I was the first person on record, ask anybody to say that Bernie Sanders is running again. You know how I was the first person? Because literally the moment he turned his back at the convention, I said, oh, he's running again. I literally said it. And then I did a video the very next morning. Because in politics, there's this body language, there's certain tells. Whenever you're constantly in the limelight, things like that, all will let you know, give you a little bit of insight as to what the person is thinking about doing. I've been calling it. I said, they're going to run Biden too. Well, the moment that Biden, funny enough, and I'm doing another video about this, the moment that Biden didn't show up at the She the People, I was like, he's about to announce. I didn't say it out loud because it's, you know, it's a controversial topic right now. And I want to dedicate a video to it. But the moment he didn't show up at She the People, I knew he was about to announce very shortly. And I knew the reason he didn't show up to She the People was because he knew the Anita Hill question was going to come up. He knew that, and the establishment knew, by the way, that Bernie Sanders was going to be the only other old white man there. And he makes Joe Biden look like Barry Goldwater by far. His campaign staff knew it. He knew it. The establishment knew it. So they said, hey, Biden, we know you about to announce, dog, but stay the hell away. Give it one more week. One more week. So that's what he did. So like I said, I don't know everything about anything, a little bit about a lot. And I'm telling you, David Brock in Media Matters, in the Democratic Party, and these troll farms, the millions and millions of trolls, or the millions and millions of trolls that come from these democratically paid. Everybody does troll farms, by the way. It isn't just a Democratic Party now. They set up a precedent, but Republicans use it now too. And some companies, some like special interest think tanks do it. Why would they invest all that money into trying to influence online public opinion if it didn't diametrically and dynamically change the outcome of elections in an instant? Why did Obama base his entire campaign off of social media interactions? Why did Bernie, the first thing he did, said, you know what, let's set up a bunch of college organizations around the country? That was the first serious move that he made organizationally. There were more college organizations around the country when Bernie first announced than there were volunteer organizations around the country. Why? Because we know how to fucking use 140 characters pretty damn effectively. And he realized this. So the next time anyone tries to convince you that you can poll people from 50 to 65 and even think that they're coming close to getting actual representation of how the rest of the world feels, you smack them. I'm just kidding. Don't smack them. Don't smack anybody. I didn't advocate for that. YouTube, don't take me down. Don't smack them. Just smack them with the logic. David Brock invests in trolls for Media Matter because it matters. Facebook deletes people, throttles people because it matters. People get deplatformed because we matter here online. Because of independent progressives actually swaying the outcome of the election, being partially responsible for the Green Party having the largest fundraising that they've ever had in 2016. Jill Stein getting the most support she's ever had. More progressive candidates in Congress now than there have ever been. More individual donations now than there have ever been. That is happening online. These polls refuse to account for that because they might let you know that Tulsi ain't at 2%. She's more like 20%. Yang isn't at 2 or 5%. He's probably more like 15 to 25%. Bernie, in all seriousness, and this is not an exaggeration, I'm not joking, y'all. From 3 years of paying attention, of reading every article, doing every analysis you could think of, quantitatively, qualitatively, empirically, anecdotally. I ask people in drive-thrus. I ask people, I'm talking about like the actual like McDonald's workers and Wendy's workers. I ask them. I go to Taco Bell. I go to if I'm talking to like young people, high schoolers, college, like over the last 3 years, who you voting for? Oh, Bernie. What you mean? Bernie should have won. Bernie. I'm not joking. I'm pretty sure Bernie is like at like 85%. And that is not an exaggeration. Like, if you are taking into account all the factors, 1 million plus volunteer. Once again, I cannot stress to you how insane that is. 1 million plus volunteers plus they all know at least one person. All those people and at least one more person are voting for Bernie Sanders. On top of that, didn't he just hit 1 million individual donors like a week ago? 1 million individual donors in 3 months? Come on, bro. 1 million individual donors in 3 months. 1 million volunteers before that. He was 85% favorability amongst the Democratic Party before they tried to skew the polls. All of these things matter more than polls because that multiplies, right? Just like I'm live right now. If I have we have 395 people, shout out to all y'all, that are watching the show as we speak. So if we have 395 people watching right now, does that mean I have 500 subscribers? No. It's probably way more than that. Does that mean I have 400 supporters? No. I have 34,000 subscribers. When Natalie Chavez, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Love you too. When Jimmy does his live streams, he gets about 7,000 to 8. He actually gets more views now on his live stream than TYT. That's insane. He gets about 7,000 to 9,000 people watching live, right? Does that mean he has 9,000 subscribers or 9,000 supporters? No, it's multiplied. He has close to 500,000, 600,000 subscribers. He has like 3,000 or 4,000 patrons. Does that mean he only has 3,000 or 4,000? No. So do you understand what that means on a grander scale? I didn't say Jimmy has 900,000 people watching him live, and that's with him, being throttled. 700,000 or 600,000 subscribers. Bernie Sanders has 1 million people willing to give him money. Now multiply that by about 30. And that might get you halfway to how many people support Bernie. And I'm a Tulsi supporter. Y'all know I'm voting for Tulsi. I support Bernie, but I'm voting for Tulsi. I think she's the best one to run the country. I think she's the most objective. I get all that. But my feelings don't cloud does not cloud reality, does not cloud my objectivity. Bernie is doing some historic shit that has never been done. And CNN has the nerve to look at us and say, but Joe Biden is leading. Boy, if you don't get this damn poll up my goddamn face and all of my news feed, lost y'all mind trying. Come on, bruh. Cut me a break. Thanks for watching that segment of Mikaya Says Sukasa. Don't forget to join us on Roku and catch our Roku exclusives. Also, help us reach our goal of 500 patrons on Patreon. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and JustNForm.com. But more than anything else, always remember, find your balance. Peace.